Why hello there everyone, I'm Luke. So, a bit of history about me. Years ago, back when I was in elementary school, one of our main sources of entertainment was these flash games that we'd play while on a website called Cool Math Games. It had all sorts of stuff like Fireboy and Water Girl, Run, Papa's Games, and Jelly Truck. But the games I played more than any other on Cool Math Games were the Duck Life games. By the time we were playing them, there were 4 games in the series, and before long that became 5. In terms of the games themselves, they were simple flash games made by Wix Games, in which you trained a duck by playing various training minigames and feeding it seed, before letting that duck loose in races against other ducks that you'd get to watch. Beyond that, there was a shop where you bought seeds and cosmetics. Each game expanded upon the last, with the exception of the 5th, which was more of an auto-runner spin-off, I guess? They ended up re-releasing the original 3 games on Steam and mobile devices through a collection called Duck Life Retro Pack. With that all out of the way, let's talk about Duck Life Retro Pack. Alright, get ready for this. I'm about to hit you with the most complex story ever seen. So you own a huge farm and are making tons of money, when one day a tornado comes and destroys it all. The only thing that survives is a single duck egg, so you have to train this duckling into a racing duck to make enough money to rebuild the farm. Yeah, released on November 5th, 2007, the original Duck Life is a fairly simple game. You're a farmer who needs money to rebuild a farm that got destroyed in a tornado, so you train a duck to race in order to get that money. Your duck has 4 different stats that can be leveled up: running, flying, swimming, and energy. The main goal of the game is to have your duck win races where it moves completely on its own with no user input. Running, flying, and swimming all help your duck move more quickly in races when doing those specific things, while energy is what actually gets your duck to move. During races, your duck's energy will deplete as it moves, and if it runs out, your duck will collapse on the spot. Since races get longer and your opponents get faster as the game goes on, you need to level up those stats. Leveling up stats is pretty simple. For the movement-related stats, you have 2 fun minigames to play, and also the flying minigame. Alright, first up is running, which is simple. Your duck will continuously run forward as various objects barrel towards it. You can jump over them by clicking, and coins will show up that you can try to have the duck grab depending on how the obstacles feel that day. Next up is swimming, also known as the best one. It's another pretty simple minigame. The duck moves forward as obstacles approach, similarly to running, but now you're in the water, which apparently means the duck is now capable of moving left and right. Instead of just clicking to jump, you control the duck directly by moving it left and right. You can still have it jump with the up arrow, which is necessary for obstacle avoidance, and some obstacles have the duck dive down using the down arrow. You can also grab coins, which randomly show up in the water or the inside of obstacles where you can't grab them. And then, flying. This minigame's only lose condition is touching the water at the bottom of the screen, because they didn't put any obstacles in. So apparently their way of fixing that issue was automatically having the duck fall into the water after a bit. So you sort of have to replay the minigame since the duck just stops after a while, regardless of what you do. That's not fun, that's tedious. It isn't even fun to grab the coins in this mode, with this mode not having many impossible to grab coins, since there's no risk besides the water. And by extension, basically nothing to stop you from grabbing them. So that's all the minigames. So how do you level up energy, you might ask? Well, that's what the coins are for. You can access the duck shop from the menu up at the top, where you can buy various cosmetics, like hats and colors. And you can also buy different variations of seed for your duck to eat. You get both regular seed and skill seed. Regular seed is exactly what it sounds like, while skill seed can also level up your duck's other stats. So with that out of the way, it's a simple matter of leveling your duck up for each race and then winning. Or you could just grind every single stat to the maximum level immediately, because there's nothing stopping you from doing that and obliterating every race one after another, including the final one, which is just this white duck. You get a crown for winning, so yeah. Thinking about it, this game isn't that good. The only actual gameplay consists of 3 minigames, with one of them being garbage, another just being okay, and the third being the actual fun one. Beyond that, it's just watching ducks go forward. And I still kinda like it for some reason. Swimming is a legitimately fun minigame, and there's just something surprisingly enjoyable about watching your duck crush the dreams of your opponents. I really shouldn't like this game that much, but despite that, I do. Duck Life was a simple Flash game, and that was that. So they decided to release a sequel 2.5 years later. And by sequel, I mean it's just the original game, but better. Duck Life 2 World Champion released on July 13th, 2010, as a direct sequel / enhanced redo of the original. You can input a name on the title screen and immediately learn that apparently the ducks can talk. Your original duck from the first game talks to this new duck you just named, telling them that the only way to get the crown it has is by becoming the world champion. That's our motivation for this game, where the title comes from, even though we literally already became world champion in the first game. On another note, this game's a vast improvement over the first. One major thing, you actually have to try now. They added a level cap, so you can't just immediately max out all your duck's stats and breeze through the entire game anymore. Now you have to upgrade the level cap using coins in the shop for large amounts of money, with Seed being moved to the overworld, bought from these dispenser things. Skill Seed has also been replaced with Purple Seed, which just levels up energy more than regular Seed does. In addition to that, the training minigames have been upgraded. Flying actually has obstacles now, so you have to actually do things. Still sucks because you still fall out of the sky after a while, though. But more importantly, move over swimming, it's time to introduce the best training minigame. Climbing. Your duck automatically climbs up this mountain place, and you have to use the arrow keys to move left to right depending on obstacles and sometimes collect coins. But the most important training improvement, the song. Another thing, the races now take place in different parts of the world, so that's cool. To be honest, Duck Life 2 is really just a better version of the first game. Seriously, it's better in basically every way. This is my favorite game in the series. The later ones are definitely superior games, but this one will always be my favorite. While Duck Life 2 is pretty much just a better version of the first game, Duck Life 3 changes things drastically, which is clear the moment you begin the game. We're back to the whole being a human training a duck idea from the first game instead of the ducks just doing what they want like in 2, and the main plot is become world champion. For the third time. This time you get to choose from 4 different ducks, which excel in some stats but aren't as useful in others. These are genetically modified ducks, each engineered to do well in a certain stat. One for running, one for swimming, one for flying, and one for climbing. Speaking of stats, the duck shop has been completely removed. No more hats, colors, and level cap upgrading. So you may be wondering, what's stopping someone from doing what you could do in the first game with stats? There are 3 leagues, being amateur, advanced, and professional. There's a set of races in each league, and the level cap starts at 50, then goes up by 50 automatically when moving to a higher league. But leagues have a catch. When going to a higher league, your duck will evolve into a larger one. That's the explanation for the level cap increase. It's also where the name of the game comes from. Beyond that, every training game has 3 variants. For the amateur league, as your duck's basically the same as the first 2 games, the minigames are mostly unchanged with some exceptions. Running now features tennis balls that bounce, adding some variation and difficulty into the minigame, and flying doesn't suck anymore! They finally fixed it! You still fall after a while, but not only do obstacles threaten to end your run early, you also have purple coins show up that speed up your duck, letting it stay in the air longer. The one thing that makes this game better is how long the duck stays in the air is actually dependent on your own skill now. Next up, the Advanced League in London. Climbing, swimming, and flying are the exact same minigames with different obstacles, and running just adds different elevations to the ground, so you have to jump more. Moving on to the Professional League on Easter Island, our duck evolves again, and the minigames are actually somewhat different this time. Flying has the obstacles from both previous leagues, climbing adds lava along with the ability to move your duck up and down, running swaps out the rolling obstacles for making the duck ram into rocks at Mach speed, and swimming is completely different actually. You're in a cave with the up arrow making the duck swim upwards and letting go making it stop. If the duck touches any part of the cave, the minigame ends. Races, however, stay basically the same between the leagues, since they have no user input. Though, when you complete the last professional league race, a portal appears. This portal leads to the lair of the champion duck, as your duck evolves one last time into a supreme duck. If you've maxed out your duck stats, it'll be faster than the champion duck. But in order to have actual user input for the final race, the champion duck cheats! For some reason, they decided to give the champion duck an army of these domo things, and then put them everywhere on the racetrack. If your duck touches one, it slows to the crawl, so you have to click on them to shoot them. As a reward for beating the game, you get some coins, a throne for your duck, and the arcade mode, featuring the training minigames and a domo shooting minigame. You can also see your previous ducks. Yeah, you're allowed to reset and start with a new duck, and the game will remember that you already beat it with the old duck, showing it at the end. Beating it with all 4 duck types also gets you an achievement. I really like this one since I find it very replayable and fun to go through with the different duck types, and the minigames in this one are just better than the ones before it. Though this would be the last game to work this way, as Duck Life 4 ended up completely revamping the gameplay. Duck Life 4 was a new beginning of sorts for the series, essentially functioning as a reboot. It apparently technically isn't a reboot, but it might as well be. They even remade Duck Life 4 for mobile devices, just calling it Duck Life. However, they also decided to port the originals to mobile devices as well. All 3 games were bundled together in a $2 app called Duck Life Retro Pack, with a light version that only included the first game, which was renamed to Duck Life Origin. These apps were made in Unity. They also put these versions on Steam due to the death of Flash Player, with Cool Math Games now hosting the Unity versions of all 4 games. RetroPack also added challenges-based stuff like minigames, but I didn't look into them that much since the one time I tried them they didn't work. Overall, I'm glad these games are being preserved though. So, those were the original Duck Life games. I might look at Duck Life 4 another time and maybe Treasure Hunt, but that game's kind of an autorunner spin-off based on Jetpack Joyride, and it's weird. It never got a Steam version, so yeah. So, I guess that's all I have to say. Bye.